Here are 6 tips from the book The Psychology of Money in Under 60 Seconds to help you manage your finances. Tip number 1, avoid screwing up. If you lose big chunks of money through gambling or investing in dodgy stuff, that is the fastest way to ruin your financial life. If you just avoid big losses, you'll be able to steadily grow over time. Number 2, use money to buy freedom. Don't think of money as something that can buy you all of the things that you want, like fast cars or a big house. Think of it first and foremost as a tool to buy you the ability to do what you want. Tip 3, understand the magic of compounding. For example, if you earn 10% every year on your savings, your $100 becomes $110, then $121, then $133, and you can earn money for literally doing nothing. Tip number 4, getting wealthy is very different to staying wealthy. They are 2 different skills. Learn how to manage your money, avoid lifestyle inflation, and prepare for unexpected expenses. Tip 5, save as much as you can. Pretty simple, obvious advice. Having lots of savings gives you the ability to buy your freedom over time. And number 6, learn to say this is enough. Avoid the trap of always wanting more and more, because that is often the path to financial ruin.
Do you want to be the first millionaire in your family? Let me give you 5 tips on how I became the first millionaire in my family of Choi. Rule number 1, stop sharing your big dreams to people who can't dream bigger than you. Would you take a dieting advice from someone who's obese? Probably not. Then why are you taking financial advice from family, friends, and parents who are not millionaires? Rule number 2, you need to stop working hard for money. Instead, you need to let your money work hard for you. Warren Buffett said, if you can't find a way to make money in your sleep, you're gonna have to work until you die. Rule number 3, give up to go up in life. In the first 5 years of building my Airbnb business from scratch, I gave up drinking, partying, Netflix, hanging out with negative friends and toxic people, and most importantly, thinking small. Ask yourself, what are you willing to give up to go up in life? Rule number 4, become a contrarian. Do the unexpected. Do the things that most people won't do to have the things that most people can't have. If you always follow the crowd, you will never be able to go further than the crowd. The ones who walk alone are usually the ones who find themselves in places that no one has ever been to. Rule number 5. This is probably the most important one. You have to stop thinking small. The size of your success equates to how big you can dream. Follow for part 2.
What is good debt and what is bad debt? Is there such thing as good debt?
It depends on your context. As a banker, bad debts that go south. But in general, good debt is debt placed upon an appreciating asset, right? So, technically car loans are not good debt because they depreciate. But definitely fucking credit card is terrible debt. Yes, you have emergencies, things that are critical to your family, for whatever it may be. Yeah, I get it. Medical debt, you can't help that. I get that. But discretionary wise, if it's discretionary, to get into debt for discretionary things like travel stuff, that's bad debt. Real estate's always good debt. Okay, and real estate's finite, always appreciates in general, right? Education's good debt. If it's not all-encompassing, I think some education, if you get into debt to obtain it, may not necessarily be a good idea. Some definitely are good ideas. So, yeah. It has to be an investment. Generating the debt has to provide you with an investment, allows you to invest in something because you have to borrow to invest in it, that actually gives you a benefit more than the cost of the debt in the long run, right? So you can apply that to anything.
This is how you become financially free. It's not Amazon, it's not drop shipping, it's not multifamily real estate. This is exactly how I stopped worrying about money and started doing whatever I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. So if you want to become financially free, number 1, you need to be making some kind of income. And it needs to be consistent so that you can build better money habits. Number 2, you need a bank account, and it's all about how you structure it. In your checkings, you need your monthly expenses and $2,000 in your savings. From there, you need a credit card. Get a cashback credit card with a limit of your monthly expenses that's in checking. You will pay that off every single month using the money that's in your checking account. Then you need a high yield savings account of at least 10K to 6 to 12 months of expenses. Then once you reach that goal, stop saving. Because then you're going to take the rest of that money, open up an investment account, and begin investing at least $540 per month to build wealth. This will be your Roth IRA. Then lastly, get yourself some life insurance. You'll need about 10 times your income in term life insurance. Then once you figure out how to automate this entire thing, that's going to be your quickest path to financial freedom. Thank me later.
Just 1 minute can change your entire financial future. People usually just give up when it comes to investing because it seems so confusing. So here is a guide to get you going in less than 1 minute. Firstly, you need to choose an investment platform. Gone are the days where you have to call up a stockbroker to invest. This isn't Wolf of Wall Street. You just literally need a phone. Personally, I use Vanguard because they have low fees, but a quick search will show you there's plenty to choose from. Just choose one. Secondly, you need to open a stocks and shares ISA, which allows you to invest up to £20,000 per financial year. You won't get taxed a penny on any growth, or if you decide to withdraw the entire lot, there'll be no tax implications. And lastly, just pick an index fund to invest in. That's just a word for a group of stocks. As you can see here, there's plenty to choose from, but do not be paralyzed by choice. You can't go wrong with a low-cost, globally diversified fund because it spreads your risk and you're not investing in one company. Now, just automate a monthly payment and do not look at the account every day.
I became a millionaire by age 26 and became financially free by age 30. These are 3 best tips that I can give you as a self-made multi-millionaire. Number 1, you have to live below your means and stop buying dumb shit. If you're not making over $500,000 a year, you shouldn't be driving a German car. Instead, you should be driving a Toyota or a Hyundai. Also, you shouldn't be wearing LVs, Gucci's, or Dior's. Instead, you should be wearing like H&M or Zara. Number 2, you have to find a way to make money in your sleep. If you don't do that, you're gonna have to work until you die. And the best way to create a passive income source is by investing in real estate. And no, nowadays you don't need that much capital to invest in real estate. You can start out by using a strategy called rental arbitrage. And lastly, number 3, become a contrarian. Stop following the crowd. A person who walks alone are usually the ones that go furthest in life.
Here's how to ditch 9-to-5 jobs. It is important to channel your passion into a side hustle. Use your weekends and your evenings during your normal hours and find the passion that you love and start working on it. Secure your finances before making that leap. First, build an emergency fund. Stop paying unnecessary expenses and start investing into what you need for your side hustle to grow. Craft a step-by-step process for leaving your 9-to-5. Create and implement milestones that are achievable post your 9-to-5 job so you can create as your side hustle a passion where you can grow with it. Finally, surround yourself with very supportive entrepreneurs that are in the same alignment and vision as you are. That will help you and guide you, and more importantly, it will motivate you.
This is the best advice that I can give you on how to attract and manifest everything in your life as a self-made multimillionaire. Imagine tomorrow you win that $1.5 billion Mega Million lottery. How would that make you feel? I'm sure no words can describe how ecstatic, how happy, how joyful you feel. Now, let's say after you pay the tax, you go to the bank and deposit that $700 million check. And let's say the banker tells you, hey, since this is a big check, we will need to hold it for at least 4 to 6 weeks. So for the next 4 to 6 weeks, how would you feel? Extremely happy again, ecstatic, confident, right? You just have so much energy walking around and nothing's gonna bother you. And now imagine doing a business that with that kind of confidence, with that kind of energy, with that kind of happiness. How would your business partners, how would your customers feel around you? I'm sure you're going to get a lot more business deals because the people around you will start to feel that energies, that happiness, that confidence in you, and will want to do business with you. That's the power of manifestation. You attract in life what you put out to the universe. So if you're always visualizing and act as if you already attained those kind of success, then you start to put out to this universe that high amount of energy and the happiness, and people will start to be attracted to you. You're going to start to attract every single great opportunities around you. That's how I attracted all the great opportunities, all the great people in my life. Follow if you want to learn more about business mindset.
What is financial advice that you would give your younger self?
Shit. Bought a house much earlier. Studied how to trade using more quantitative analysis a whole lot earlier. I don't know, there's a lot, man. I'm gonna sit here and rant, and like rant for hours on things I would do different. It's very easy. But it's not that simple. It's not one thing, it's all sorts of things.
What's the biggest thing?
There isn't one, it's not everything. It all depends when.
25 years ago. Right out of college.
I would say that one of the things that I should have done a lot earlier was, really focused when I was like really young to go buy real estate, buy my own house. Simple. Make sacrifices.
But you bought your first house young, in my opinion. In my book, I
No,
consider that young.
but I could have done it a lot younger, be much more aggressive about it instead of, when you're young, you're more worried about getting a nice place to stay versus owning something and downgrading. So that mentality, I think, was the problem, because real estate's finite, and when you build equity young, it opens up a lot of more financial doors for you as you get older, regardless of, how else you handle your other finances. I think I would say is, at a younger age, in general, people should think more about building longer term wealth than they are the immediate things around them, buying a nice car or getting a nicer place to rent or going on vacations, putting, money on a credit card for things that don't generate you a return. I think it would have been a lot more frugal to build longer term wealth. Should have thought that way.
How can diversity work for you? We're not talking about diversity now, color of skin, gender, race, religion. Diversity in investing. What is diversity in investing? Well, diversity in investing is very simple. I learned this from Jim Cramer on Mad Money. He always says to diversify your portfolio because that's your free lunch. And why did he say that? Well, he says don't only invest in tech companies. If you invest in infrastructure today, tech, and then you have bio and health, what happens is some days the tech market is super hot, but all your other stuff is not, and you get to pull out profits of that. Sometimes infrastructure is great. So we always see that when one is down, the other is actually flourishing. How can you use that if you're not into stocks? Well, isn't that about diversifying the groups of people you talk to and your friends, right? All your mentors. My mentors shouldn't be all in clothing. I should have some in advertising, some in shipping, some in finance. Don't be too literal. Shouldn't that be about your friends too? Some of your friends are into clubbing. Some of your friends are into saving the planet. Some of your friends are into nutrition. Some of your friends are into religion. Some of your friends are into giving back. Always diversify, because if you diversify, it creates innovation. You start thinking different ways. Always think about diversifying how you think, who you're around, what you invest in, so you get different options, different opportunities, and that creates innovation.
I want you to constantly be on the hunt for who you have not become yet. And if you think like this, you will rise.
Here are my top 3 easiest ways for you to become an investor and not just a consumer. Number 1, start buying stocks and companies you love like Nike, Starbucks, and Apple instead of just buying their products. Number 2, here's a fun challenge. Every time you want to buy something, you also have to invest the same amount in that company. For example, if you want to go buy the new $150 Air Max, you also have to invest $150 in Nike stock. Number 3, don't just research the stocks you love. Watch for trends and what other people are buying and consider buying those stocks. The lesson here is to train yourself to think investing first, not spending first. Okay, so we have the plan. Let's go.
Every time you get a dollar or a paycheck, there are 3 principles to how you can be successful. The 3 ways to spend that money, and people always use them backwards. Number 1, you pay for what you absolutely need. Number 2, really critical, invest. And number 3, treat yourself to the things you don't need but you would like to have. But people usually do number 3 as number 1. They never do number 2, and number 1 is number 3. Be successful. Do it the right way.
Here are the 3 top board games that I believe that you should be playing as an entrepreneur. It will serve you well for the rest of your life. We are not talking about the legendary game of chess for strategy and war and various things. We're talking about board games you can buy in the store. Catan is number 3. It is about building roads and pipelines and resources, kind of like distribution, right? That's very, very important. Number 2, Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki. We're talking about doodads. You remember your assets, what feeds you, your liabilities are what eats you. But the best game, we all know, it's no surprise. Of course, it is Monopoly. But why Monopoly? Well, let me explain to you why Monopoly. Because over this 3, 4, or 5 hours you play with your team, guess what you're going to find out? Even though they have fake money in their hands, they forget all about that. And you see who negotiates, who keeps their word, who takes shortcuts, who complains, who always loses, who always wins. And the methods and the tactics they use to do it, it's going to be the same exact thing that they do in business. I want you to constantly be on the hunt for who you have not become yet. And if you think like this, you will rise.
Here's something that you'll thank me for when you're older. Find just £50 within your budget. Get rid of that streaming service that you don't use anymore. Try and use your car less. Spend less on petrol and cycle somewhere. Now set up a stocks and shares ISA, which allows you to invest your money in the stock market tax-free. Then automate this payment by setting up direct debit into that account and invest in index funds. Let's assume you're 25 and you want to retire at 65 with a lot more money than you currently are going to. If you invested that £50 every month into index funds within the stock market and got an average rate of return of 10%, at age 65, you'd have over £300,000. Do not rely on the government to sort you out when you retire. You need to start investing.
How do you use a credit card without incurring interest?
Don't carry a balance.
Okay.
Don't carry that.
How do you do that?
Don't carry a balance. You spend on your credit card. What do you do with your Amex?
I use it and I pay it weekly or so.
Right. Sometimes what do? You spend the money, especially as a big purchase, right? Mm-hmm. And you immediately take your phone and you bloop.
Yeah, I pay it immediately.
Right there. That's it. Don't carry a balance.
Because a lot of people, based off of our advice in our previous video, get into a lot of credit card debt.
I read about that. The problem with that, I don't mean to be brash, but that's a personal problem with people. You're trying to say that you use your debit card to control your spending, and if you use a credit card, you can't. So that means what? If your debit card doesn't have enough money, you don't spend. You need to have some discipline. First of all, let me take a step back. People need to understand how much money they have the ability to spend. Very simple. Doesn't matter if you spend on a credit card or debit card. How much can you afford to spend? What's your budget? So stay within your budget. The only proposal or the only thing I was encouraging is the manner in which you spend, right? Because it's more dangerous to put your credit card, your debit card out there, right? Especially if it's a pool payment with recurring stuff. Your information, you try and limit it out there. So if you want to use your debit card, whenever you use it, you want to be a push payment. You want to initiate the payment from your bank, not let someone come in and take the money out, right? So that being said, for people who say like you reading me some comments like, well, if I use a credit card, I'm going to get credit card debt. Hello, don't have a budget. You can't manage your finances based upon a zero balance bank account. So just have a budget. So just saying that if you're going to use your debit card, rather than using your debit card for stuff you would use your debit card for, just use your credit card and pay it right off. Mm-hmm. And you can set up in your online banking on your bank account, which is where your debit card's based out of, right? Your credit card payments. So for example, like if I go spend, like some maintenance stuff for the airplane, I spend on the card. Why? Because I want the points, whether it be for the airline points or the Amex, points, right? Points, when we go on vacation, sometimes we have free flights and stuff from these points, right? So I would drop a big chunk of change. I would charge a big amount on the card to get the points. Literally, when I make the charge, I immediately go to my bank account and cut the check out and pay it off. That's all you gotta do.
Right. And no interest is paid.
No, if you don't carry a balance, there's no interest. I mean, you gotta read the fine print in cards, but from what I understand is every statement cycle, they calculate the balance and they charge you interest. So to be safe, like you do, you pay it off weekly or you pay it off the instant you spend it. You know, it's a hassle, but you know what? Hey, that's what you have to do to make sure you don't overspend. And that's the biggest problem out there. So you can't look at it as like, oh, if I use a credit card, I'm going to get credit card debt. No, the credit card is just a tool. If you get into credit card debt, that means you lack discipline to control your spending, period. You know?
If I were starting over in my 20s and wanted to make $1 million in the next 1 to 2 years, here are the 3 things I would do immediately. Number 1, I would buy an existing business with owner financing, and I would implement modern marketing and automation tactics. And yes, this is doable with little to no money. Start by going to BizBuySell or LoopNet.com. Number 2, I would leverage any credit or borrowing opportunities I had, and I would go all in on crypto research and trading. There's huge opportunity in crypto right now, especially if you're following new coin launches. Pro tip, become an expert airdrop hunter. There's just huge potential here. Number 3, I would immerse myself in AI and become an expert in the field. From there, I would launch and test AI-generated art, digital products, or educational-based AI talking head content. Once I got some traction, I would work endlessly to maximize my eyeballs and revenue and engage with associated influencers to help. No bullshit. Without some risk and trial and error, you'll never know when your breakthrough is gonna be. So get out there, take some risks, and watch the magic happen. Okay, so we have the plan. Let's go.